So I'm delighted now to hand over to an old Hymerian, Andrew Plaistow, who's going to talk to us for the rest of our assembly. Andrew, over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pickles. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for having me this morning. It is a real pleasure, and thank you for moving assembly. I think you normally have it on a Tuesday, so I feel very honoured that I've had the whole assembly move. I'm sorry not to be speaking to you in the main hall, because I was kind of one of the things I was most looking forward to do was standing up on the stage there. It's one of my lasting memories of this whole school assembly. So I hope you get back to whole school assembly soon. It is weird being back. I'm looking out the window there and just looking into the playground and looking at that bench that I used to sit on every lunchtime and have my sandwiches on. And I ran up the stairs earlier on when I came back in the summer, actually, and just the sort of muscle memory of the place is really interesting. And I remember exactly where I used to hold the banister to kind of pull myself up the stairs and swing myself around. So this place does get into you and it sticks with you, and I think it probably will hopefully stay with you in many positive ways, as it has with me. So sort of potted history of me and why I'm speaking to you today. I came to Hymers in 1985. There we are. Can you see that? If you can. That's my first day at school in the junior school. So I was here from 1985 to 1995. And then I went on to do English and French at university. And then I had a short time working in the City of London, 4 years there. And then I became an English teacher in 2005. And that's what I've been doing since then. And I'm currently an English teacher at Highgate School in North London, which is actually not dissimilar to this place. It's actually similarly kind of Victorian looking place and a similar kind of outlook and attitude, maybe just a bit more southern than Hymers is. And as you obviously know, and you're celebrating LGBT plus History Month here at Hymers already, as many people are up and down the country for February. It's such an important thing to be part of, and one of the main objectives of LGBT History Month is to recognise and to celebrate the contribution of LGBT plus people to society. Now, when I was a teenager here in the 90s, the whole idea of recognising and celebrating LGBT plus people was just, quite frankly, impossible. There was nobody in my world who was gay. There were no adults. I had no gay friends. All I knew about gay people was that they were just a big joke. And some of the words for gay people, which I used to hear every day pretty much, were gaylord, woolly woofter, and shirtlifter. I mean, woolly woofter sounds a bit ridiculous. I'm not quite sure where that even comes from, but it sounds a lot more benign than it actually was. Basically, gay people were ridiculous. Gay people were something to laugh at. Gay people were something to avoid, and you certainly didn't want to be gay. And that was pretty much how everything was day in, day out. Lots of casual homophobia. It was perfectly normal for my friends, for teachers, for my family, for myself even, to use homophobic language. It was just there. But as I kind of entered adolescence, I did become increasingly aware that I was what I most feared, that I was actually gay. And I have to say, I just felt absolutely ashamed, absolutely terrified of what this actually meant. All these very strong adolescent feelings kind of emerging, telling me that I was gay, and I was terrified, and I just hid it. I hid it from other people. I hid it from myself. The closet for me just isn't a strong enough metaphor to describe how deeply I buried my identity. I would call it a much darker, deeper, dungeon-like space. Which took me a long time to kind of get out of, and even after I actually came out, to deconstruct that dungeon that I'd created around myself took quite a few years. So why were attitudes to homosexuality at the time so negative? I was born in 1976, just 9 years after the decriminalisation of homosexuality. And that always blows my mind, that 9 years before I was born, it was illegal to be gay. You would have gone to prison if you had been tried and accused and found guilty of homosexual acts. So although the law had changed, attitudes hadn't really changed very much. And certainly by the early 90s, when I came to school, then attitudes were perhaps even more homophobic and ingrained than ever. And there's some reasons for that. The HIV/AIDS crisis had terrified people in the 70s and 80s, and it was spreading particularly rapidly through the gay community. And as a consequence of this incidentally is an advert that I remember when I was a child. It was a government advert, it had a great big tombstone that kind of fell. I think the catch for the strapline was, well, there it is, don't die of ignorance. People didn't know what it was, where it was coming from, but as I said, many gay people were contracting it at a much higher rate. And so against that background of fear, the government passed a law called, well, it was actually a section, it's called Section 28. It's called Section 28 because it was named after Section 28 of the Local Government Act of 1988. And it was a law that was designed to prevent schools from talking about or teaching that homosexuality was something that was normal and natural. In fairly kind of typical lawyer speak, that is the actual clause. Section 28 prevented schools from promoting the teaching of the acceptability of homosexuality as a pretended family relationship. Now that's just a lawyer's party, that I think. That whole notion of promoting the teaching of the acceptability, it's quite confusing. What does that actually mean? I mean, in reality, it meant that schools just said nothing, absolute silence. So that was the background which I grew up in. There was no, as I said earlier on, there was nobody gay in my world at all. And so these are some of the headlines from newspapers at the time. There were huge debates in Parliament about it, lots of people pro. There was even a debate about pushing, recriminalising homosexuality again. That was something that was raised. The 6 o'clock news was invaded by a group of radical lesbians who kind of broke into the TV studio at 6 o'clock just as they were reading the news about the bill being passed. So it was a lot of controversy was being caused. And you can see from some of those headlines that it wasn't particularly positive. So that silence was very damaging because in the silence, all the old prejudices thrived. Everything that had kind of potentially been, could have potentially been eradicated or been worked through from the 60s it just all came back again. I was never actually bullied at school because I just hid it so well. I had lots of strategies for hiding. It's interesting, it's Valentine's Day actually, because I remember one Valentine's Day just in the main hall over there, I wrote a Valentine's Day card to a girl called Philippa King, who's still a very good friend of mine. And I kind of waited, I think, till the end of the day, and I slipped it into her locker. So it's just outside A1 if that's still there. And it really wasn't at all anything other than just trying to kind of demonstrate that I really wasn't gay. I remember keeping entries in my diary about the girls that I fancied and hoping that my sister would find it so that she would kind of get the message that I wasn't gay. I remember talking to other boys about girls. And I used to have this sort of mantra that I used to say to myself, I won't be gay when. So I won't be gay when I kiss a girl. I won't be gay when I go to university. I won't be gay when. But those feelings just didn't go away. And you can imagine the kind of psychological effort required to kind of maintain that sort of normal service where nobody could suspect, the kind of constant fear, the anxiety, the effort. I was on the surface very happy, but in reality I was very alone and very afraid, and that was for a very long time. So I went through all of school, I went through all of university. Here's me on my graduation with my granny. In the closet, and I didn't come out until I actually moved to London after this when I was 25 years old. So yeah, a tough time, certainly. The Act was actually repealed in 2000 in Scotland and in 2003 across the United Kingdom. And in 2005, I became a teacher. And my first job was at Stoke Newington School with a wonderful woman called Ellie Barnes. And there she is with some of the kids at Stoke Newington. And they had acted very quickly since Clause 28 was removed. And they began immediately kind of educating children in LGBT plus issues and rights and all this sort of thing. And I was really lucky to be part of that at the start. Now, Stoke Newington School is in Hackney. It's a really tough inner city school, and they had it was very, very homophobic, like most schools were, I think, at the time, or certainly lots of them. And they transformed it completely. Every day you would hear "that's so gay" as a pejorative comment to basically sort of criticize anything from a pencil to another person. And they changed that culture around so that if anybody ever did use that language, very quickly they knew that there would be some sanction put in place. And so I was really, really lucky to kind of be there at that time when that was happening. And I think for the first time was very proud, and I was very comfortable and happy to come out as a teacher. I moved to Highgate School in North London, where I currently work, in 2008. And it was with a group of my sixth formers in my A-level class that we began our Pride Society there. And so we've been running since 2008, and we meet every Friday, and we have done every Friday lunchtime since then. And we have a whole range of talks, sometimes pupils, sometimes teachers, sometimes we have external speakers. Everybody's welcome. You don't have to be gay, you don't have to be anything, you just have to turn up and come along and be interested. And we have lots of people who've given us lots of interesting talks, and I've just put a few slides together. We advertise with posters because that's a really important part of it, is the visibility. So even if you don't come to Pride Society, just knowing that Pride Society is there every Friday, we stick a poster up, and we have a few sandwiches as well, so that kind of attracts people as well. So we've had all sorts of things, some theatre ones, and we also do associate Pride Society in association with other school departments as well. So that's one with the English department or one with the drama department. We did one with the economics department. This is a really interesting one. We had somebody in from the city who came to talk about diversity and equality in the city, and we even had football supporters from Tottenham Hotspur, the proud Lily Whites, they came in as well. So a real range of different people, and it is really about kind of that visibility and getting that message across. I wanted to come to give this assembly for a very long time, so it's a real pleasure to actually be able to do it today in LGBT History Month. And in spite of all the negative things that I've said, I did actually really love school. I had great lessons, I had great teachers, I had great friends, and I just managed to kind of sort of live on a very kind of superficial level, which was really good. It's certainly one of the reasons, or certainly coming to Heimers is I'd say definitely actually the main reason I became a teacher. So for all the negativity that I've been sort of sharing with you, this story, like all the best stories, does actually have a happy ending. I'm just so pleased that the world has changed, you know, but there really is no room for complacency. We do all have a part to play in tackling homophobia. It still exists, it's still out there. So even though we might have a lovely, friendly, welcoming community here at Heimers, beyond in the wider world and nationally, that's not always the same. It doesn't have to be your issue. I think that's the thing. You don't have to be gay to be part of this. We all have a responsibility to educate ourselves and to constantly check our own prejudices and society's prejudices, because being gay really should never be a big deal. So there we are. Thank you very much. It's been lovely to speak to you all this morning. And a real pleasure, and hopefully I look forward to meeting some of you at Equality Society at lunchtime today, I think. All right, thank you very much. Thank you.